でも助っ人いっぱいみたいだし戻ろうかな。
ほら時間ないよ、始めよ。はーい。
江頭さん、頑張れ。
Big PSA to anybody clicking on this video. As I talk about skipping Loafer episode 5, if it looks like I'm getting emotional, if it looks like I'm crying, hell, if I start crying, it's not because this episode it really hit me in the feels or something. It's because it's allergy season and I'm dying from allergies. Like around my neighborhood, we have nothing but like these trees that just exude pollen, that like yellow orange crap that falls on the ground. Like it's just everywhere, and I am like close to allergy death. I don't know if anyone has died from allergies, but I'm gonna set a record or like a first or something. So I just want to put that PSA out there. Also, if my voice registers high, like an octave higher, if I sound even, if my voice is even more annoying than usual, it's because like I'm stuffed up. All right, all that out the way. Skipping Loafer, you know, I don't really think I have the words for how incredible of a masterpiece we're witnessing here. And I know masterpiece is kind of like something that should be reserved for like the classics and stuff, but like I would put like Horimiya. So glad that's coming back, you know, in some way, shape, or form. But like I would put that as like a masterpiece. You know, some people call like Toradora a masterpiece, and I don't agree at all. I actually really don't like that anime. And I've tried to watch it. I mean, I finished it. I've watched it, but I've watched it multiple times throughout my life, and like I don't think it's like really that good. But like, there's something so void in the anime industry, and it's okay for it to be that. But there's something so void in the anime industry when it comes to like trying to capture what it was like being dumb and young. And I think, you know, any time before like 20 years old, and I know maybe some of my viewers, you guys are very young, and, you know, I'm effing jealous. Like, I would switch you, you know what I mean? I want to be 20 again, or 18 or whatever. But, like, the reality is, like, I've lived it, I've seen it, I've had friends, I've had family members, blah, blah. Before 20, you're kind of an idiot. You're dumb. And it's okay to be that because, like, you can be, like, book smart, like, you can be very intelligent, methodical. You can have a lot of the traits that are going to really help you in life. But the reality is, like, you're trying to figure stuff out from, like, an emotional level, mental level, trying to understand who you are to yourself. You're trying to love yourself, accept yourself. You're trying to find yourself. You're trying to figure out who you are to people, who you are to family, who you are to maybe somebody you're pursuing in a romantic sense. Right? You know, sometimes you look in the mirror and you don't like it. You know, sometimes you might think that you're a failure, or you might think that you have major success, but then you see someone more successful and you feel like... So there's just so many things that people kind of tend to struggle with all throughout life. But I think it's very sensitive for those under probably like 20 years old. And sometimes, again, it can extend further than that, and you can find these things way before that. But I would say the norm is like, especially when you're a teenager and, you know, maybe you're like this anime is depicting people in their first year of high school, right? They're about 15, 16 years old, right? Your body's still going through changes. You know, you've gone through changes. Your mentality has gone through changes. It's just a very sensitive time in life. And it's rare that anime really captures that. More or less, anime tends to live in the fictional, right? Even if I think about really, you know, romantic quote-unquote anime, like maybe like Kaguya-sama and stuff like that, it's very centered in like, you know, comedy and fiction. And I really love when anime like really captures the essence of what it was like to be stupid and young and trying to figure yourself out. And Skippin' Loafer really does that. You know, we have a very interesting character in Mitsumi, and the thing that makes her so interesting is she is devoid of the socialistic norms because she comes from the boondies, right? She comes from a place where socialistic norms was between her and like seven other people around her age. So she doesn't quite grasp the nuance of having hundreds of people around your age and the fact that everybody can be so different and not being able to touch, a certain amount of people because there's just so many, it's impossible. She's also devoid of like socialistic norms in the big city, or what people will call like a normal society. She lived in a place where she could speak up and be a certain way, and all of these traits are really good traits. And even ignorance in a way can be really good to a point. But she brings all of these things to the big city, and that's what makes her special. Is she's kind of figuring things out of like, oh, the things that worked here, I can't really do it here, but they're blending and bleeding in. And at the end of the day, she can't. It's very hard to change who you are. So that's what makes her such an interesting character. And on the opposite side, we have 𝐒𝐮𝐻 as our male protagonist, who is, he was a child actor, and that brought a lot of probably mental trauma and things that he's trying to forget and get over and prove that he's not just that, right? And that can cause, especially again when you're young and you're trying to figure out your identity and things like that. And then at school, he's very popular and he's very, everybody has their eyes on him. He's, gorgeous looking dude, and he's, people just are very interested in him, males and females. They're very interested in him. And what that tends to do is, when you are that popular or when you command that kind of presence, it's very hard to pick out the true and the false between people. And that's what this anime is doing really well as well, when it comes to 𝐒𝐮𝐻, is like, when you command that popularity, a lot of people are going to use and abuse you, but mask in a certain way to benefit themselves. Just being around you is going to command your presence around them. So again, it's very hard to figure out who's the real people around you. And then you throw Mitsumi in the mix for him, and he identifies that she has no ulterior motives when she talks to him, or like she's not trying to get anything out of him. Like, she just appreciated that he was the first person to help her, and that's what's driving everything else. Everything else that's coming with it, like, figuring out who each other are and getting to know each other and maybe even romantic. Like, all those things are going to come. But at the core root of it is you have two people who aren't trying to really get anything out of each other. Maybe for 𝐒𝐮𝐻, for him, he's trying to gain somebody who is true, honest, and, isn't looking to use, abuse, or get anything from being familiar to him. And maybe that's what he's seeking, along with all the other interesting things that she brings to the table. So I just think that is incredible. And in this episode, too, we found out, one of the other kids is like, or the drama guy, he was like, oh, it must be a very lonely existence. And that's what then sparks Mitsumi to go into action, to go and like make herself known to him. Even if she gains the ire or disdain of other girls, she was like, I don't care about them anyways, but I do care about my friend. And if he feels lonely, I'm gonna go cheer him on. And it obviously worked. She cheered him on. He's like, instead of he's like swish. It did something for him. So I think that capturing these moments and capturing this dialogue and capturing these actions that these characters are taking is very special. And I know I'm going over on time here too. And the last thing I'll say is, this episode also caught Mika up in this too. And we found out more about Mika as well. She used to be a fat kid. She used to be a fat girl. And there's a lot of trauma, especially when you're a kid, and you're getting out of that mentality. There's a lot of trauma you carry with yourself through that. And this episode, again, captures that, when Mitsumi goes and confronts these dudes, like, she has this PTSD about certain individuals acting a certain way towards her because she was a little fatty girl. You know what I mean? And there's a stigma that carries with her. So she watches what she eats. She has to put on an identity. She has to try very hard at these things. And the reality is, because she's trying so hard at these things, it kind of removes her true self from the things. So I think becoming a friend with somebody like Mitsumi and surrounding herself with friends of Mitsumi who are also, being true to themselves will allow her to be a little more real. And I think her actual personality is more alluring than her fake personality. You know, even if it is mean-spirited or honest to a fault or whatever it is, being you and being accepted, being you by other people, that's what true friendship is, not the, you know, this identity or this false that you put on, this act that you put on. Because the moment you remove it, the moment the curtain falls, the moment you peel that back any, those friends become non-friends. I just think it's incredible the way this writes. I know I didn't talk about a lot of the different things that happened this episode, but I just had to talk about, like, the writing is incredible and it's capturing the essence of being a teenager, being young, and it's navigating through that beautifully. And I love Skip and Loafer. I think it's a masterpiece. It's going to go down as a gem that not a lot of people are watching, so I'm going to keep singing its praises because it's that good. What did you think?